Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kim Brisky. I am the Director of Communications at SomerCor. SomerCor is a nonprofit small business lender certified by the Small Business Administration. And we also administer the Small Business Improvement Fund and Neighborhood Opportunity Fund grants on behalf of the City of Chicago. So today we're going to start off with going through these two grants that are limited to the City of Chicago. And after that, we'll roll into the SBA 504 loan that we at SomerCor administer on behalf of the SBA. Again, for everybody here, please do put Q&A in the chat. We'll answer them at the end, and let's get started. So again, here is all my contact information and a quick rundown of who we are and where you can find more information about us. I'm going to jump right in and start talking about the Small Business Improvement Fund and the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund. Shorthand, I'm going to refer to them as SBIF and NOF respectively through the rest of this presentation. A couple of key similarities between these programs is that they're both run through the City of Chicago Department of Planning and Development, and they're administered by SomerCor. These grants are really focused on promoting economic development by providing reimbursement grants for small businesses to make permanent building improvements. Residential projects are not eligible. All applicants must fulfill a financial requirement by showing proof of financing and contributing a portion of the total cost. Again, these are reimbursement grants, meaning that the work will be paid for upfront by the applicant and then reimbursed at the end. Eligible work items include things like roofing, facades, storefront, interior build-outs, HVAC, plumbing, electrical, and other upgrades. If we're looking at the two grant funds, here are some key differences between the two of them. In terms of SBIF, it's a grant funded by TIF districts or TIF tax increment financing, and it's approved by, or an additional dollars approved by City Council. And new areas open up every 30 days for applications. These projects are funded through the reimbursement grant, so the client pays up front and they're reimbursed after completion. There is a geographic eligibility that's limited to the TIF districts that are open for applications. Manufacturing and industrial projects are eligible, but new ground up developments are ineligible. A really key difference is this is considered a non-competitive grant. This means that all eligible applicants that meet the requirements will receive grant funding, assuming that there is dollars available. In terms of the NOF, the grant is funded by a density bonus program that actually leverages new development near the loop, and all of those additional funds that are collected through that are set through the years and siphoned out through an application period every couple of times a year. Most projects utilize an escrow system to be able to pay contracts. There's a geographic eligibility similar to SBIF, but it is really on targeted commercial corridors on the south, southwest, and west sides. Manufacturing and industrial projects are not eligible, but ground up developments are. This is also a competitive grant, meaning the applications are judged on neighborhood impact and readiness. So we're going to dig a little bit more in depth here on the SBIF program. Again, the purpose of this webinar is really to dig into financing options for small business owners that are looking to either purchase or renovate their permanent brick and mortar stores to really improve their store's functionality as well as the actual commercial corridor where they are. So again, this program, it'll be 25 years that this program has been around for SBIF next year, and SomerCor has been the administrator of it since the beginning. And again, we reimburse grantees for their pre-approved repair or rehab of their facilities. So here are kind of the key questions, which is, how much in grant money are you able to access? For industrial properties, the maximum grant size is $250,000. For a commercial property or landlord that's single tenant, that's going to be $150,000 maximum. $250,000 maximum can be granted for a multi-tenant for commercial property, but it'll be $75,000 maximum for each individual tenant. Applicants can receive one or more SBIF grants. up to their maximum assistance. And once that maximum is reached, the applicants will need to wait 3 years to be able to reapply. And when we're talking about the actual reimbursement, most of our projects end up where the business has between a 0 and 3 million sales or net worth. And that means that 90% of eligible costs of the project will be reimbursed through the grant. Similarly, if it's 3 to 6, it's going to be 60%, 6 to 9, 30%. For industrial projects, on the other hand, all of them will fall under 50% of eligible costs will be eligible for reimbursement. Now that we know how much in grant funding people can access, let's talk a little bit more about who is actually eligible to apply. The property must be in a TIF district where SBIF funds are available and the SBIF is open and authorized to accept applications. A little bit further in the presentation, we'll provide some information about where you can find that out. So if you're talking about who's eligible, a landlord can apply, commercial or industrial, a business owner, commercial or industrial, who either owns the property or leases. That means that a tenant can apply as long as they have written approval from their property owner. Additionally, startups can also apply with a business plan. It's important to note that a current Chicago business license will be required for reimbursements. In terms of any eligibility limits, if you are a commercial tenant or owner-occupied commercial building, you must average 9 million or less in gross sales per year. If you're a landlord, commercial or industrial, it's also, again, 9 million, but less of cumulative net worth and 500,000, liquid assets maximum per individual. This sometimes happens if we have multiple owners of a property, but it's individually, the maximum is 500,000 liquid assets. If you're an industrial tenant or an owner occupied for an industrial property, 200 or fewer full-time employees is the requirement. Any owner occupied properties are subject to both tenant and landlord requirements. So getting started, if you meet all the requirements that we just talked about, let's focus in on the geographic question. SBIF districts in Chicago span neighborhoods on the north, south, and west sides. If you go to SomerCor.com/SBIF, you can find out if your property is in a SBIF district. Just click 1, confirm your business is in a SBIF district, and then enter your address here on the SBIF locator tool page. What will then pop up is if your property is in a TIF district, it'll list what the TIF district is, when that area is going to be opening for new applications, as well as listing delegate agencies. Those are the agencies that are working with the city of Chicago to help applicants apply. So if you know that your business is in an eligible SBIF district, let's find out if it's on the schedule to be opened. So right now we have the entire 2023 schedule listed on our website. All you have to do is go to SomerCor.com/SBIF again and check number 2 to find out which SBIF districts are open, and the entire list will be there. We will be working right now on all the schedule for 2024 openings, so hopefully that information will also be posted soon. So if you know that your space if you're eligible, if you know your space is eligible and you know when it's going to open, let's talk a little bit more about businesses and organizations that are ineligible to apply. Again, this list is not comprehensive, but this is a good starting place. If you're not sure about your eligibility, feel free to reach out to SomerCor. Some of the ineligible types of businesses would be chains and franchises, pawn shops, nightclubs, gas station, places of worship, non-for-profits, social clubs, things like that. So again, feel free to give us a call if you're not sure if you would be eligible to participate. So if you're ready to keep going through this process, you know that you're eligible, let's talk about the things that you could actually use SBIF funding for. I've got a quick snapshot of a before and after project on 79th Street Corridor, Brewer Coffee and Custard. You could see that's a pretty impressive transformation outside. The inside was pretty impressive as well. So things that you could use SBIF funding for include roofing, facade, pieces of the sign that are permanently affixed, any ADA compliance structures, HVAC, plumbing, electrical, architectural and construction fees, permanent interior renovations and build outs, including fixtures. This list is not comprehensive. So if you have a project in mind, feel free to reach out and we're happy to talk that through with you. But here are some things you would not be able to use SBIF funding for. That would be new construction, additions, expansions, or ground up, standalone minor repairs or cosmetic improvement, equipment related expenses. So pretty much anything you can roll in and out on a dolly equipment wise, that would be ineligible. Planters or any outdoor dining, drinking areas like roof decks, beer gardens, balconies, things like that. Fencing, privacy screens, parking lot repair, landscaping, or any work on interior residential units. We understand that City of Chicago has a lot of sort of mixed use spaces. So mixed use spaces certainly can still apply for SBIF, but just know that work on the interior of any residential units of the property will not be eligible. Here's a SBIF sample project, just to give you an idea of some of the work that we do in the Bronzeville TIF MHA Cakery and Cafe. As you can see previously, the front, was dated, pretty sad looking. Interior, it was an empty shell. Afterwards, we can see they, really opened it up with bright windows, great lighting, and the interior, total gut job, really welcoming and a great business to have in that area. Another cool example here in the Madison-Austin corridor is Wiley's Chicken and Ribs. Again, you can see the before here, interior and exterior, really an empty slate. And then afterwards, an awesome new storefront here, very welcoming for folks. And there's a build out of the kitchen portion as well as the order up area as well for the customers. So if you feel like the SBIF program is something that would be a good fit for you, you can go to SomerCor.com/SBIF to apply. And how you do that, at this point, we have an application that all you have to do is click to download, fill out the PDF, and then email it to SBIF@SomerCor.com. Now, make sure that if you are sending in an application, it's only when your TIF is open for new applications. Any applications received for other areas outside of their open periods will not be accepted. However, if you are interested in being put on an email list to receive notification when your district is going to open, you can also send an email to SBIF@SomerCor.com letting us know your project address, and we can enter you into our system. The SBIF application is actually really simple. It's only 3 pages long. And the key information that we're looking for is like project address and some basic estimates on the type of work you want to do and costs. But once you are actually going through the first stage of collecting your project details, you will need to have additional information. So I always suggest that clients start gathering these items now. These would be things like tax returns, and either if you're the owner of the building, your deed, if you are the tenant, your lease. If you are a startup, make sure you have projected income and expenses. Additionally, I think it's helpful to have a business plan as well. And so those are sort of some of the things to really be thinking about to start compiling so that you're ready to go when you're reached out by, when one of our project managers reaches out to get your project started. So I mentioned stage 1. So here is a quick snapshot of the different stages of the SBIF program. So stage 1, the applicant applies, and then we ask you for a couple of follow-up documents, and you have 20 days to complete that. Stage 2 is when you really get started getting your plans and bids, and additionally, your debts have to be cured. For the SBIF program, we do a scofflaw check. So any debt that you have to the city, like water debt, parking tickets, things like that, those have to be cured before you can actually move forward. There's 120 days in that time period. To be able to actually move forward, either you pay them or you actually set up a payment plan with the city. Note that you have to finish stage 1 and 2, and then do a final project review by the Department of Planning and Development. If that's approved, you will receive your conditional commitment letter signaling you're able to begin construction. It's important to note that any construction that has started before this point will not be eligible for reimbursement. Let me say that again. You cannot be reimbursed for any work that you have done on your small business unless you have already received your conditional commitment letter and that specific work is outlined on that letter. So I just want to make sure anybody who's asking, well, I just did this work last year, could I be reimbursed now? Or, you get really excited, but you haven't received your letter yet. Just make sure you're able to hold off if you would like to be reimbursed. So once you have the letter and you're ready to rock, you've got 10 months to be able to actually do the construction. Within that 10-month period, you also will, within 120 days of that period, have to be able to show that you either have your permit or proof of permit application, so receipt of applying through the city. Additionally, you need to be able to, within that first 120 days, show proof of sufficient funds to complete the project. That means having at least 50% of the funds needed to cover the total project costs. We do have the ability to do projects in phases. So if you have a couple of different types of pieces of work that you're doing on the project, maybe you want to do the roof and the storefront, and it's too expensive to do both at the same time, what we can do is say, all right, do the roof first, we'll get the paperwork in, reimburse you, and then we'll go on to the storefront and do that way. Once your project is complete and you have turned in all the required paperwork, you will receive a check within 4 to 6 weeks. We know that this project, because it involves construction as well as dealing with several city departments, we want to make sure that we have lots of resources available to you at SomerCor.com/SBIF. You can find our additional resources page here with a couple of great project resources to help you, including lenders and banks who have previously done SBIF in the past, so they're a great contact, as well as lists of contractors who have worked on SBIF projects before. So I'm going to take a pause here in case anybody else wants to add any additional questions to the chat, and then in about 10 seconds, we'll get started talking about NOF.
Hi, Kimberly. I do see, is this for Chicago area only?
Yes. So the SBIF and NOF grants are only for the city of Chicago.
And just if these slides are going to be available for attendees, this webinar is being recorded and will be posted on BACP's YouTube page, and I will put that information in the chat. That is all the questions right now.
Awesome. I appreciate it. All right, let's keep on moving now to the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund program. So this program is a little bit newer than SBIF. And again, it's really focused on specific commercial corridors on the south, southwest, and west sides of the city. We talked a little bit about how the loop bonus generates those funds. So we're going to focus today on the small grants track. That's going to be grants up to $250,000. This is a competitive selection process based on application details, and grantees are expected to complete their project within 2 years. But this will get a little bit further into the timeline as we go, but we understand there are obstacles that can come up through construction projects, but our goal is to really have the project completed within 2 years. The types of eligible projects include expansion or renovation for an existing business, a new location for startup businesses or existing businesses, or even new construction at vacant properties. Just a quick note, we will not be talking about NOF large grants in this presentation. So let's talk a little bit about the grant structure. Grant funds are awarded based on total eligible project costs and applicant eligibility for building community wealth bonuses. So let's sort of break that down. So if you have a total project cost of 100%, 50% base grant is going to be eligible for every single applicant. So every applicant will be able to be reimbursed for 50% of the eligible project costs no matter what. An additional 25% of eligible project costs can be reimbursed for local residents. I'll show you in a page or two to come the actual map that will highlight who would be included as a local resident and eligible for that additional 25%. Additionally, you can receive up to 25% of your eligible project costs reimbursed if you actually hire local in that particular place, in that same particular map area. But here's the key. You as the grantee will still have to be able to contribute a minimum of 25% while completing the project. So even if you're going to be able to local hire and actually able to have 100% of total project costs reimbursed, that won't happen until the project is done, the business is up and running, and you're able to show proof of local hiring through some of your HR documents. So I will show now, sort of this is the area I'm going to talk about. So if you're actually located, either you live or you hire from the qualified investment area, that's everywhere that's in yellow. So quite a bit of a space. That's how you be eligible for those 2 additional bonuses. The left side is the map that actually shows where, what geographic locations would be eligible for NOF funding. You can see here eligible project corridors, priority investment corridors, and Invest Southwest corridors. So you must be located in either the eligible or priority corridors to actually access the NOF funding. And I know the difference between these 3 colors is that when you're actually being, as the grant is a competitive one, Invest Southwest corridors are going to earn the highest priority, then priority, and then eligible corridors. Just something to keep in mind as you're getting ready to apply. And one other note, there's actually a map on the NOF website, which we will get to at the end. I'll be able to share that with you, where you actually plug in your address, and it will tell you right away if your property is eligible and on which type of corridor. So let's talk a little bit about who is eligible to apply. Commercial property owners with known business use. So this means what we don't want is a landlord who just wants to create what we call a vanilla box project, meaning they just want to make it clean and any type of retail or someone else, and they don't have a planned tenant come in. A commercial business tenant, somebody who's already operating or is going to be operating a business and the landlord approves of that. Additionally, nonprofits that are also providing a revenue generating commercial activity, those are also eligible. The types of applicants that are not going to be eligible are residential properties, including home-based businesses or live workspaces, manufacturing or industrial workspaces, social service organizations, including workforce development, schools, and daycare centers, churches, and places of worship. Again, if you're not sure if your type of business would be eligible, feel free to reach out and we can kind of do a little bit of research on your behalf. I would say what's eligible and not eligible in terms of the types of work that you can do is relatively similar to SBIF. Major interior and exterior renovations are eligible, build outs are eligible. One thing that's very different is that NOF does allow for building acquisition costs as long as it's actually going to be acquiring the space and then also renovating it for the business. Architectural and engineering fees, roofing, masonry, windows and doors, all the mechanical systems and security systems. Things that wouldn't be eligible would be minor repairs, like cosmetic, when you're not doing it as part of a larger renovation. Any work on residential units or residential portions of a mixed-use building. Any repairs to address building code violations. And again, you cannot use it for any business operating expenses. So here's an NOF sample project, AGB Investigative Services and Chicago Lawn. You can see the before, they had sort of the outdated glass box square windows and very old looking brick. And then the new exterior is with great signage, great open and brightened light. We also have Ositos Tap in Little Village. You can see the before there in that bottom left corner. It was actually just sort of like a vacant space right next to a liquor store. What they were able to transform it into was this really high level speakeasy with delicious drinks and specialty foods. So it really turned out well. I mentioned in the beginning that the goal is for NOF projects to be completed within 2 years. We understand that there can be delays, and if there are, the key is that we ask for all of our applicants to keep in touch with their project manager to let them know what's going on so that we can help them. Sometimes we can help expedite issues that they're having, maybe with permitting or with site visits, other things like that. But additionally, our goal is to get these projects across the finish line. So please let us know if you're having any issues. So the NOF process is completely online, and you can visit chicago.gov/NOF to learn more. It's important to note that while it's this important information to have about NOF, at this time, it is actually not open for applications. We will be working with the mayor's office and the city of Chicago to find out what the 2024 opening schedule will be when that is announced. I'm sure definitely stay tuned to all of SomerCor's social media channels to find out more information. So Geraldine, I'm happy to pause here to see if there are any NOF specific questions before I move on to the last segment of the presentation.
Great. Let's see. For projects with 2 portions needing repairs, Kimberly stated that the reimbursement can be applied to the first project, and then the application will be accepted for the second. The SBIF applicants have to wait for the next time the eligible area is open for the second portion for repair to be considered after the first portion is complete and reimbursement is received.
Okay. I think what the person was referring to was the phase system, which was where you have one project that is approved. You have multiple different work items included in your one project. And the question was, if you complete one work item and get reimbursed, then do you have to wait until the next time the SBIF opens to get the second project complete? No. If you already have your conditional commitment letter and it clearly states in there, these are all the work items I'm looking to complete and I'm going to complete them in phases, you do not need to reapply again the next time that it opens. But it's important that you work with your project manager in the beginning to say, hey, these are the work items I want to do. I need to do it in a phase ways, and that way you can kind of work together. Now, it's important that you will have to have all the work approved, but in terms of actually reapplying again, no, you do not need to do that. Hopefully that answers the question.
I think so. Thank you. I'm in the Fullerton, Milwaukee TIF. It says non-scheduled and gives this info. Logan Square Chamber of Commerce. Does this mean we have to call them to find out when applications open?
No. So when we put the delegate agency on there, that's to alert you to that is the person, the group that you can work with when your district is open for application. Currently, the system is only showing openings that are scheduled through 2023. So if it doesn't have anything scheduled, that means that there isn't anything scheduled at this time. The system will be updated once we have the 2024 schedule up. And just a quick reference for everybody on here. The times when districts are open for application is really determined by the main thing is if there's money available and if there's interest. So if there isn't money available for an area, then it will not, be opened. I feel like I know Fullerton, Milwaukee is a popular area, so it's possible that at this point, I don't know off the top of my head, that they're still working through older applications going through the wait list. But I would also suggest to that person who's interested in Fullerton and Milwaukee to send an email to SBIF@SomerCor.com with their business information to be added to the wait list. Or excuse me, not to the wait list, to our database, so we can send them an email when that area, if it does open for new applications.
Okay, great. Do HVAC repairs have to be associated with approved city contractors from a pre-approved list, or does the owner have the ability to hire a local company?
Yes. So for SBIF projects, it's really, you have to get multiple bids for your work, but you are not required to have somebody who is necessarily a union contractor, but they do have to have at least a City of Chicago business license.
Okay, great. If the project runs over the anticipated costs, can an applicant reapply for overage consideration, or will the grant be called?
So no matter what, the grants have the maximum size. So again, like for a commercial single tenant building, the maximum SBIF grant is going to be $150,000. However, if you come in with your estimate, we always tell folks to make sure that you're recognizing how expensive work is right now when you're giving us your original estimate. There will be contingency fees that we sort of add on to your project. But the key is there are other people that are doing projects and work in that same district, and there's a finite amount of funds. And so if your project starts running over, it really will depend on if there's any funding left in the district at all. And that is something you're welcome to bring up to your project manager, but it's certainly not assured that there will be funding available to help with any overages.
Great, thank you. Next question, when will large NOF be online, and who do we contact?
So SomerCor is not in charge of the large NOF project. You know what I might have to do, Geraldine, is I may have to find the link and website and send it to you to send maybe to this person or to the group, since we don't manage that. I don't know offhand, but I can get you that information.
Not a problem. We could send it out to everyone. That is all the questions right now.
Awesome. All righty. We'll finish up here with the SBA 504 loan. Again, so this is a loan program. So we're shifting away from grants. Now we're moving into loans. And this is statewide. So I know we had somebody ask a question if the grants were only for the Chicago area. Yes, that's true, or for the city of Chicago. But the SBA 504 program is statewide. I know the name 504 doesn't really sound too snappy, but you know, federal programs, they're not known for their snappy names, and it comes from the actual statute where this law was created. This program's been in place in about this form since 1986, and it really was created because there were a lot of concerns that small businesses were being prevented from accessing capital to create and retain jobs. And so it created this program that's very unique. It's really the SBA's premier economic development and job growth program, because there are elements in the policy requirements that are about job creation, community development, and supporting MBE, WBE, and veteran-owned businesses. So let's talk a little bit more basically, what is the 504 program? This provides a lending solution for business owners to buy, expand, or refinance their major fixed assets. That's going to be commercial real estate, which makes sense with the theme we've been talking about today, equipment, and machinery. This functions as a public-private partnership, which we have you as the borrower putting your down payment, a certified development company like SomerCor, we able to provide the financing piece on behalf of the SBA. And then there's a third-party lender like a bank that comes in with the last piece. So who can use the 504 program? You have to be a for-profit business, under 15 million in tangible net worth, the prior 2 years average after-tax net income under 5 million. For commercial real estate, you actually, as the applicant, have to be owner, so it's an owner-occupied real estate. So you actually have to be occupying and running your business out of at least 51% of the space, 60% of the space for new construction. Thinking about all the industries that are eligible: manufacturing, healthcare, storage, restaurants, education, professional services, hospitality, and more. So there's all sorts of options, and I'm happy to answer any questions if somebody has a business and they're not sure if it's eligible. So what are the benefits of using the 504 to actually purchase your commercial real estate? Number one are below market interest rates, meaning lower monthly payments. Interest rates, we all know, are rising, but the 504 rate remains well below market. And number two, you only have to put less money down, which means you have more capital to keep in your business. If you actually have an existing business and it is not sort of a unique single use type thing, like a gas station, for example, wouldn't be single use, or is single use because you couldn't really use the space for anything else other than a gas station. But most of our businesses are able to get up to 90% financing. This means you only have to put 10% down, and you will be able to actually keep that money reinvested in your business. Number three, there's long-term financing, means no surprise balloon payments. Borrowers have the option of up to 10, 20, or even 25-year terms that eliminates the surprise payments, and it helps with long-term planning. So for businesses that are growing and need to expand or renovate, the 504 really is a great solution. Some costs that can be funded with the 504 include land and building acquisition, construction, remodeling, equipment, fixtures. You cannot use it for working capital or inventory, vehicles or franchise fees, things like that. So I here you can see the difference between purchasing a building with a conventional loan, where you generally are putting 25% down, versus the 504 loan, where for the most part, you're putting only 10% down. There is an additional option, though, to be able to shore up capital, which is the refinance option. If you are a company that already has a building that they own, either they bought it with a conventional loan or even another 504 or 7A loan, you're able to actually refinance that with a 504 and actually leverage the built-up equity that's already in the building and take it out for working capital. That cash out piece can range up to 20% of the appraised value of the property. So what you're able to use that 20% of cash out piece would be for things like salaries, rent, utilities, inventory. You can't use it for personal expenses or business acquisition, but this is one way where you actually can really access your equity from your hard asset, your commercial real estate, through the 504. Here's a really cool example, actually, because this client used both the SBIF grant and the 504 refinance for his business. And you can see he has the mask on. That was this happened all really during COVID. So Jaime was able to use the SBIF grant to do the exterior improvements. So that's going to be like all of the new windows and doors here. And he also was able to use the SBA 504 refi because he already owned the commercial real estate to actually cut his monthly mortgage payment in half. So obviously he was able to both get the grant and save money every month, which is a really a great opportunity. If this sounds like something you're interested in doing to actually purchase new real estate or refinance what you already have, you're more than welcome to reach out to your either business banker, or if you are at a credit union, or you can reach out directly to us. Here are a couple of things that we will be asking for during the application process. And these are pretty standard with any other time that you're actually trying to get capital. So that's going to be tax returns, debt schedule, projections, personal financial statement, things like that. I also recommend having a really strong business plan to be able to show why you need this capital, what you're going to use it for, and how it's going to help you grow and also create jobs. So here is a contact page of all of the folks at our at SomerCor who can help with these different projects. Obviously, I'm going to go though back to my page so that you can at the front, so you can see my contact information. You're also welcome to just reach out to me and I can connect you with the correct person. All right, Geraldine, I'm happy to answer any 504 or other program questions at this time.
Great, Kim, here we go. How should business owners approach getting estimates for construction projects for application submission?
Great question. So I would say you don't need to have a detailed bid when you're applying. I think that to start, I would actually work with your delegate agency to say, hey, this is the kind of work that I'm looking to get done. Can you help me estimate about how much it is based on what other businesses are doing? You can also reach out to SomerCor directly if you are unsure, but don't feel like you need to actually talk to contractors when you're just applying in the beginning.
Great, thank you. What are the requirements for the 504 loan? Also, is this a year-round loan businesses can apply for?
So the 504 loan, people can apply for it at any time, and for us, we can serve the entire state of Illinois. And going back to the requirements, the key really is that first page where I talk about the type of business. Here we go. The type of businesses, and it's really all about being owner occupied commercial real estate. So it's you have a business and you're going to be in that building and you're going to be operating out of there, and that's what you're looking to purchase the property for. And for us, our goal is to get you across the finish line and work with the SBA to make sure that you that we can try to do the financing for you. You know, every business is different. I encourage you to make sure that you're able to show how you're making revenue. I encourage you to be able to show how you're going to create jobs, how you impact the community. I think also the business type makes a difference, whether or not you're in a high risk industry or not. Those are important. Startups are eligible as well. So, you know, I think for us, you can reach out and we can kind of talk with you and see if you're ready. Now, one thing that's important is that you will need to have a business banking partner working on this with you. So if you don't already have a business banker, and I really encourage everybody on the call actually to start building a relationship. Even if you're not ready yet to buy a building, it's always best to have that relationship. So if you do have a need, you have somebody to call, somebody who knows what your business is all about and can kind of help you find the best fit for you.
Okay, great. Next question. If you already own the building and there is a loan, will the SBA be a second lien, or does the first lien need to be refinanced?
So it's always, the bank is always going to be in first lien position. I think what will happen is you'll be refinancing on the existing loan, and the bank that's involved will be in the first lien position. I'm happy to kind of talk a little bit more about that with that individual offline. If they want to send me a note, I'll put my contact information back on the page.
Okay, great. Thank you. Are these loans only for already established businesses?
No, startups. For the loans, startups can apply.
Okay. Is certification necessary to apply? Are you aware if the 504 loan officers or process considers the applicant's business credit?
I feel like I'm not sure what the certified to apply means. Meaning if you have a business license, that would be necessary. If the question about the business credit though is an interesting and important one. For all of these projects, and honestly, most financing until you get up to much larger amounts, it's really, you know, both lenders, the SBA as well as traditional lenders, are going to look at both your personal credit and business credit if you have it. So it's actually really important that both of them are in as best shape as you can be, that if you do have any issues that you're working to remediate them. I also encourage you that if you do have any issues with either your business or personal credit, that you're upfront with your banker or with CDC if you're working with us, so that we are best able to explain in the narrative why this happened and also try to help you work through improving it. And we have lots of partners we work with on credit remediation as well.
Great. Next question. Can you talk about 504 Green?
504 Green. We actually do have, as part of the 504 program, another option, which is actually if you're interested in doing specific improvements to your space, that would be either making it more energy efficient, or actually then on your own, actually either creating energy or decreasing your use of traditional fossil fuels, you will be eligible for the 504 loan. It's actually one of the approved policy goals of the 504 program. And it really works well, especially if you're in the manufacturing industrial space. You're able to access more in capital by using those green loans as a manufacturer or industrial. There actually is on SomerCor.com, there's a blog post actually that I wrote, which I'm happy to send to Geraldine later on to send on to the group, that kind of outlines a few more details specifically about green loans. But you can find it at SomerCor.com on our blog page.
Okay, great. Are there any income and credit score requirements for the 504 loan?
So we talked a little bit about the 504 in terms of here we go. So it's going to be the maximum of 15 million tangible net worth and net income under 5. In terms of credit score, I would say it's not as straightforward as that. A lot of it, again, is about the actual industry that you are in, and your ability, your proven past ability to be able to actually pay off other debt. So I don't have like a straight number that, a credit score will say, oh, you're not going to be eligible. But I do think a credit score is important, as well as your personal and business credit is important to be able to access these loans.
Okay, great. For SBA 504, does this need to be an expansion, or is it possible with a startup?
Startups are fine. Startups are eligible for the 504.
And then there was a clarification regarding the certification. She possibly means MBE, WBE certified.
Okay. Not required, but that's always great. Is one of the public policy goals of the 504 program is to make sure we are, in addition to creating jobs, and obviously the green energy policy stuff that we talked about, is also supporting women, minority, and veteran-owned businesses. So not required, but always great to have.
Great, thank you. We'll give everyone another minute to put their questions in. Again, this webinar has been recorded and will be posted on BACP's YouTube page. So that's youtube.com/Chicago BACP.
Sorry, I forgot to put my camera back on. Sorry about that.
No worries. Lots of thank yous. Thank you so much.
Oh, sure. I did want to just say, this is something I know my boss always likes saying. I totally, we're kind of aligned in this, which is that we're a nonprofit. So at the end of the day, we want to help small business owners, whether you're in like the idea phase to you're already development and out there. So even if we're not the right people to be able to help you with your financing needs, we work with a lot of other folks in the ecosystem. Obviously, BACP, we're going to be at their Small Business Expo at the end of the month, so make sure you go there too. So if you're trying to figure out what the best fit is for you, feel free to reach out to me as well.
Any follow-up questions?
Okay, great. They're asking for that last slide again with all the contacts.
Oh, sure. I can give you that. Sorry, y'all, probably getting dizzy with all of my clicking around here. There you go.
Perfect. Give them the minutes to write that information down.
No problem.
One more question just came in. Are you aware of any programs to help renovate residents to address the city's housing issues?
Unfortunately, none of the items that we work on are focused on housing. I would recommend starting by looking at the City of Chicago's Department of Housing page to see what kind of programs are available there.
That was my answer as well.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I think that is all. Thank you everyone for coming. We appreciate everyone. Kim, thank you as always for such a great presentation. The contact information I'll leave up there for another minute. Everyone have a great night. Thank you.
Thank you.